to see about the next section in the Bhagavad Gita, ninth chapter. The first 10 verses spoke about the nature of knowledge that Krishna is going to speak. And then what is the first thing that Krishna is giving? Krishna is giving the Aishwarya Gyan. Means if we say that Krishna loves you and you can love Krishna, like it, who cares? Like so many people love each other. Like what's a big deal about loving and not loving all these things? That's why if I saying first understand who Krishna is and how important and how like great it is to know that even he loves us. Like if we don't, if no, if I don't know somebody is the president of a particular country, and if that person comes and says, means I really adore you, and then I want to be your friend, and it's like, okay, I don't know who you are. It doesn't like it is not a big deal. The moment you know how big is that person, how great is that person, how powerful is that person, how influential that person is, then we feel like, wow, like this person wants to be my friend. Even on Instagram, it's a big deal. Imagine like if some of the famous celebrities of the US follows your Instagram account. It's a big deal. If someone with millions of followers like is following you, who has probably a few hundred or thousands of followers, so then that's considered like a big deal. Oh, this big person is following me. Similarly, Krishna, when he comes and says, I love you and I would like you to love me back, means if we don't know who Krishna is, how great he is, then we won't take it very seriously. That's why Krishna is giving Aishwarya Gyan, how great he is, how inconceivable he is, between the verses 4 and 10. So now that he has told, and now we see, okay, now Krishna is so great. How are people approaching him? It's not that, okay, just because he is so great and inconceivable, everybody is his devotee or everybody approaches him with complete surrender. No, different people approach him differently. So that's why Krishna is going to explain all those different approaches that people are having towards him, and what is the best approach that Krishna prefers. How there are many ways that people are trying to connect with him, but what is the most preferred way that Krishna prefers that we connect with him? So we all have preference, and Krishna also has preference. So that's what he is going to explain in this particular section. Does that make sense? Any reflections on that? The connection, why
I
Krishna spoke what he spoke so far and what he is going to speak now.
Yes. Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I have a
No?
question about the purport in for verse 9:12. When Prabhupada says there are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth.
Mm.
Um, I was wondering, so once one engages in devotional service,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that cleanse the heart and you keep and then you start to think of him as the supreme person? I mean, I'm curious as to why he would say this. Like, why
The
would
word
someone
devotee,
go ahead?
the word devotee in ISKCON is very specifically used for practitioners, like who are like
Mhm.
chanting, who have accepted Krishna. But in a generic sense, there are many devotees. Like you go to a place like India, there are many devotees of Krishna. They really like him, they worship him, but they may not know or fully aware that he is the supreme lord or accept in that sense. Still, they are also devotees. They also have some faith. They will come go to temples, they'll do some worship. So in a broader sense, he is using that word devotees in that purpose. In ISKCON, it has a very tight sense, a tighter way. Like, okay, you accept him as supreme lord, you engage in chanting and all that. But Prabhupada in that particular verse is using like in a very generic sense,
Right, like a cultural thing.
like
It's
a
a
culture.
cultural thing. Go
Yeah,
to the
culture.
temple.
They are also devotees in their own right.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Does okay, yes. So now that we know, we are going to see what Krishna is going to explain in terms of how, in different ways, that people are approaching him. So first, he speaks about people who approach him thinking that he is material, that he is like any other human being. So that is one approach. The other approach is of pure devotion. The other three approaches is one of assuming him as one with Brahman and or one with themselves or as demigod. They approach Krishna through the demigod worship or through universal form. So we'll see one by one. So the verses 11 and 2, if you have Bhagavad Gita with you, please have it before you. And you can also refer to the translations, the verse, the word to word, and all of that as we are discussing. It will help you stay in track, stay on track with what we are discussing. So we saw 10 verses last week. So from 11th verse, we are going to start today. So the 11th verse is Krishna says that he actually calls them fools, those who think of Krishna as mundane, his form as mundane form. So Krishna says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They may say, oh, the Supreme Brahman has temporarily taken a material form, which is also illusory. So Krishna does not take it very well. He says, oh, my form is transcendental, and these people are considering my form as mundane and temporary. He calls them as fools that they have. And he literally uses the word muda. Muda means fools. So they think that he has taken a human form, but his form is transcendental. And he says those who are just bewildered like this, they may be doing so many things. They may be doing so many spiritual practices in the hopes of liberation. They may be doing so many activities. They may be cultivating spiritual knowledge. But all of that will be defeated if they are having that kind of a view that Krishna's form is mundane. Krishna is like any other person. He is a human being, or he is just in another great person, but not. But if they don't understand his transcendental nature, that he is the Supreme Lord, then all of that will not have actual fruits. They may have some benefit, but it will not give them full benefit of liberation, all their spiritual practices, because in they are being deluded that Krishna is like any other person in this world, maybe a greater person. That's all. And now that Krishna has spoken about how uh, like what do you call, like what is the understanding of people who think as mundane, and what he thinks about them, he immediately says, but he is very much happy with people who actually understand the real nature of Krishna. Can I finish this and then we take that, Purva? Does it work?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So he says, okay, some are people who are deluded because they are thinking Krishna as material, but Krishna is saying there are people who are not deluded. What do they think of Krishna? So they think of Krishna, they know me as the supreme personality of God. They know Krishna as the supreme Lord, the original, the source of everything, inexhaustible, avyayam. And because of that, knowing Krishna as a supreme Lord, they engage in devotional service. That is a symptom of their, because if anyone has the understanding, then the result is they engage in devotional service. And because of, and how do they engage in devotional service? By taking shelter of the internal energy. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashhrita bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. So Mahatmanastu mam partha, Krishna says they are Mahatmas, they are great people, and they take the shelter of the internal energy. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashhrita, they take shelter of the internal energy, they engage in devotional service. And Prabhupada in that purport writes, what is a direct, like how can anyone take shelter of the internal energy? He says by following the instructions of the spiritual master. The spiritual master's instructions are the easiest way to remain under the shelter of the spiritual energy. If someone, even if they are not understanding, if they simply follow the rules of the orders of Srila Prabhupada, okay, chant Hare Krishna, follow these principles. So that trying to follow that regulations or the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, one can become situated in the spiritual divine nature. And what do they do? Krishna says, always chanting my glories. What do they do? What is the symptom of his devotees? They are always chanting his glories, and they are always endeavoring with great determination in devotion service. They are bowing down before him because they are very humble. They accept him as the Supreme Lord. They don't have reservation falling before Krishna fully and offering their dandavats, because they are ready to surrender themselves. So they're not like um, kind of, oh, should I do this or not? No, they don't have any reservation. So they can just completely bow down before Krishna. And these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Not just they need something, so they worship Krishna, and after they get, they forget Krishna. No, they perpetually worship Krishna. So this is the nature of a pure devotional service. So that's what Krishna prefers actually. So you can see how freely he's glorifying them and how happily he's describing their activities. Purva, would you like to clarify what you
Yes,
wanted to?
thank you, Prabhuji. I just wanted to, in from verse number 11 about his transcendental nature and form. We've seen that everything in the material nature is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And if Krishna's form is transcendental, which means if he can eat with his eyes and see with his mouth, then why does he even need this form? Because even if he does not have these organs, he can still see, he can still eat. And eating and drinking are material desires anyway. So why would he even want to eat, or why would he even um, when we offer prasad, for example, or like why would he even want to eat or drink, or like
So we will get to
why
that in
does he need why
9.26.
does he
We
need
will get that, like our offering and all that. We will get to that in 9.26. Regarding the form, we could take that part now. So it is not that Krishna has a form. It's like not the soul currently has a body. So there is a difference between the soul and the body. But for Krishna, there is no difference between the soul and body. He is Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. He is eternally having that form. So
yes,
having
but the form looks well, but why does he even need a form,
no,
isn't it?
why does he not? What is the problem in him having a form? Why not he should have a form?
Because it is only through a form, like it's because I have eyes that I can see, and eyes have a particular form. So but if he does not need eyes to see, then he can see without eyes. So why does he need that? Isn't Why does he need a form to do anything?
That's again coming from our personal experience that the soul is seeing through the eyes. There is a difference between your soul and the body. But
Okay.
Krishna originally is that person. There is no
Okay.
difference between his form and the soul or anything. Krishna means that form. If you say why does Krishna has a form, that is he is that form.
Okay.
He is not different from that
Um.
form. So why when you
Okay.
say why not, like he is supreme lord, like why not, like it is his desire. It's not like we give him a permission that he has to have a form or not. It is his will. Like somebody asked Prabhupada, like why is God blue? He said he does not need your approval to be blue.
Yes.
Blue, green, white,
So,
whatever he wants. He does not.
so,
So he has a form means that is the eternal reality. He has a form. So there is no question of why he needs a form. He likes it.
so is it because of that we have two eyes, two hands, and a mouth?
Yes,
Because he
that is
also has.
yes. We are made in the image of God. It's not that
Okay.
God
Okay.
has a human form. Human are made in the image of uh, thing. But the difference
Okay.
there in the spiritual world, there is no difference between the body and the soul. It's just the spiritual form. But here we have our soul is different from the body. That's the difference. And it is made up of matter, so it is it is temporary.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Swarit, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Is it possible that maybe Krishna uses his form to gain a perspective on the human world? Like I know he's omnipotent and stuff and all that, but and can see the world in ways that we can. But is it possible that he comes down in human form to gain like a perspective on reality, how humans treat each other from time to time?
He is not just omnipotent, he is also omniscient, so he knows what is going on in the world even without coming personally. So the reason for which he comes is to actually attract us and inform us that there is a spiritual world, and you could be that is your original place, and for us to understand who he is, then how great he is and what are his pastimes. So he is coming here to give us a subject matter to ponder about, to challenge our opinion of that this is reality. So that is one of the main reasons he is coming. Otherwise, he is omniscient. He will know what we are up to even while being in the spiritual. Does that make sense? Christian Prabhu, yes.
Thank you,
Would you like
Prabhu.
to ask something?
So, Prabhuji, is he also not coming down to be among us so that he can experience this reciprocation from devotees?
Yes, that's also another reason. There are multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons is he is coming to attract the attention of, engage in the rasa with the already devotees who are devotees, and also attract other people to become devotees. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Madhurendra?
So does that mean that every being who takes a human form of life on every planet is
Mhm.
similar looking?
In the sense of the, in the similar looking means like how we are all similar looking, but we are all unique.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the gender structure, the gender form and experience could be similar, but we could have individual characteristics. Yeah, but the general form is going to be like this. So now that Krishna has spoken about what he thinks of people who assume him as whose form as matter or Monday, and after that Krishna spoke about his devotees, and now he's going to speak about the other people, predominantly the other categories who approach him either through the impersonalism or through demigod worship or through the universal form. Krishna Prabhu, you wanted to ask thing or something, or it was the previous hand?
The previous hand. Sorry, Prabhu.
So the Krishna, now he's going to say, okay, there are devotees, there are Mayavadis, but there are also Jnana yogis and others who worship me through the Brahmana impersonalism, assuming that one without a second, they are one with God in that sense of impersonalism. They don't think they are God, but they know they are in quality one with God. And as diverse, others approach God in many forms, and others approach God through the universe, the physical manifestation of the universe. So we are going to see these three categories. So Krishna says, Ye na jnana yagyena chapyanya yajante mam upasate ekatvena prataktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. So this is verse 9.15. So ekatvena means Prabhupada speaks about Brahmavadis or impersonalists. That these people worship themselves as the supreme, not in the sense of quantitatively, but as qualitatively. And they are focused on not material aspects, but it is actually it is also a spiritual practice, because one understands the spiritual essence of the soul and sees that that spiritual essence is one with the spiritual essence of God. So in that sense they are focused on a spiritual path. So this is not exact mayavad, this is brahmavad. And then there are others who approach the supreme in the form of various demigods. So they worship the demigods. They may not have a clear understanding of the Supreme Lord, but they may be worshipping that particular demigod with faith, and their offerings maybe will reach the Supreme Lord if it is done in the proper way. So they may assume, they may not have a clear idea of who is supreme, who is not. They may just worship the supreme, a higher power through the demigods. And there are others who worship the Supreme Lord through the manifested universal form, because that's all they can see. That is the immediate reality they are able to see. So they don't know if there is a higher power or not, but they know the universe exists. And the universe itself is much more powerful. Imagine the big mountains and all the other phenomena that we see in this world. It's great. It's mind blowing. It's so amazing. So they worship that universe to be the supreme organism or entity, and offer their worship to that universal form, because they cannot conceive anything beyond their immediate perception, material perception. But they seriously worship the supreme through that universal form. They meditate and they perform yajnas and all that. So there are these three ways that Krishna is saying people also approach him. So what does he think about each of them? He says yes, why he should be worshipped through the universal form, because yes, that is true. He is everything. He says if somebody is offering yajna, the ritual is him, the sacrifice is him, the offering to the ancestors, the ahuti that we are giving is the Supreme Lord, the herbs that we use, the transcendental chant, the mantra that we chant is also the supreme. The ghee that we are offering in the fire itself, and the offering, and the one who is offering, everything is not different from God in that sense. The soul is also coming from God. So in that sense, yes, the universal form. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, the grandsire, and he is Gaya, the object of knowledge. He is the purifier. He is the syllable Om. The Vedas that we chant for the yajna, everything is coming from God. He is one with them. So, and he's saying, I'm the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode. So, in this way, Krishna is the basis of everything. And he's the bija, aham bija pradapitaha. So, here also he uses the word bija. Bija mam sarva bhutanam viddhipartha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejas vinamaham. He also uses the word bija in the 7th chapter. So, here also he uses that word. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijam Avyayam. So here also he is saying he's the eternal seed of everything. So in that sense, the universal form is one with God. And Krishna says, O Arjuna, I give heat, I withhold and send forth the rain. So I am immortality and I am also the death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. So in that sense, everything is in one sense coming from Krishna and one with Krishna. So some people may be meditating on this aspect of oneness of the universal existence with Krishna. Some people may be focusing on the diversity, that how the Supreme Lord is manifesting through the demigods, that he is having a universal management through all of these demigods, and they may be offering their worship through them to the demigods. So now Krishna is going to explain from verses 20 to 25 what is the difference between directly worshipping him and worshipping him through the demigods. So we have approximately 10 plus minutes. I have another event which is like going to start right after 10, so we will not go beyond 10 just today because I need to get ready for the next engagement. I will try to cover as much as possible these 5-6 verses. If anything is left, we will continue it in the following week, because some of you were not there for the previous weeks. You were all traveling, so that's why I gave a like kind of a recap this week a little bit before starting. But next week when we start from where we leave today. We won't have a elaborate recap next week. So here in the verse 20 and 21, Krishna is speaking about those who perform demigod worship for the sake of going to heavenly planets. He says people study the Vedas and they actually perform worship to Krishna indirectly by worshipping the demigods, and through that, excuse me, just a minute. Abhinay, bro. Sorry. So, those who worship the Supreme Lord through these karma kanda sacrifices to the demigods, they'll become purified of their sinful reactions. And because of that, they will also take birth in the heavenly planets. And there they will be able to enjoy life in the heavenly planets. And after enjoying for a very long time, because the lifespan in the heavenly planet is much elasticity of time, due to the elasticity of time, the higher planets have a longer duration of life. So after enjoying for a very long time in those heavenly planets, after their pious activities are exhausted, their pious credits are exhausted, they have to again return to the earthly planet. And in this way, it is only going to result in repeated birth and death. Just because they go to heaven does not mean they are liberated from material existence. They're going to go there, enjoy. It's like more like a retreat. You work hard, earn money. When you have good amount of savings, you want to enjoy life. So you go to Hawaii, you go to Miami, but you're not going to forever stay there. So you can stay like maybe for a few months. Even so, if you have enough, you can go for a year, but you can go, usually we go for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. During vacation, you're not working, you're not doing anything, you're just enjoying life. But once your pocket becomes wallet becomes slim, so then you get back actually. So similarly, the pious credits that these people have helps them go to the heavenly planets, enjoy life there as long as you have pious credits. And once it's exhausted, you're back to square one, to the material world. So it's a path of repeated birth and death. You may have a momentary enjoyment because time is when from the earthly perspective, they have a long life. But when you live there, It will not seem that you are living long. You are living one day according to that particular measurement. So after that, Krishna is explaining, okay, these people achieve, the demigod worshippers achieve their desires to enjoy the world, and they are being maintained by their own sacrifice. But how are pure devotees maintained? Krishna says, those with exclusive devotion always worship me. I take care of that personally. I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So they don't need to worry about their maintenance. If somebody is exclusively worshipping Krishna, so then he actually gets involved in their life. It is very different from how a demigod worshipper's needs are met. So that's why he's like constantly contrasting the demigod worship and his devotees. And then he again says, okay, those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship me only, but in a indirect way. So he literally says avidhi purvakam, wrong way. Vidhi is rules. Vidhi is like actual way. Avidhi is outside of the way, right way of doing it. So that's why you can translate avidhi as wrong way. So in that sense, it's also an indirect worship. So though he calls it wrong worship, he does not say it is bad. He still acknowledges that as one way of worshipping him, right? He says prataktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. So he says it is one of the authorized ways to worship him, but he says that's not the best way though, because I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Because if people don't understand all the sacrifices that they are performing, that the real enjoyer of all that is the Supreme Lord, then they don't recognize Krishna's greatness. So they will actually fall down. They'll just be in that cycle of birth and death because they are not realizing the transcendental nature of Krishna and worshipping him. So, and he again says, what is the difference between worshipping him directly and worshipping him through the demigods? He says, if someone worships the demigods, they will take birth among the demigods. Someone worships the ancestors, they'll go to those pitralokas. Someone worships ghosts and spirits, they will go there. But if someone worships me, they will come live with me. So the result is different. And living with Krishna means going to the spiritual world. That means there is no birth and death. So in that sense, he is contrasting that what is the difference between worshipping him and worshipping the demigods. Somebody may say, oh, if does our worship reach Krishna? So then why not we reach Krishna? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, when a person pours water into the flowing river, the water reaches the ocean, but the person does not reach the ocean. Similarly, if our worship of the demigods, the worship itself reaches Krishna, but the worshipper does not reach Krishna. So, like I pay taxes to my immediate, now, what do you call, locality, the county authorities or something, it reaches the government, but does not mean like yeah, in that sense, it's not the best analogy, I would say. Yeah, and the idea is like, the worship of the demigods reaches Krishna in the sense the worship is given to Krishna, is forwarded by the demigods to Krishna. So he receives that. But the worshipper may not actually be considered as a direct devotee of Krishna. They may not get the same benefits of it. Any questions on this? Okay. Please feel free to raise your hands and ask. Yes, Olga.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is there then a point to worshipping demigods if you can't reach Krishna but you still get some benefit? Does it make sense to do or should you not do it?
Oh, yeah, means on a certain level, like Krishna is speaking about people who are not knowing Krishna as a Supreme Lord. At least through the demigods, they are remaining religious. They are not, they are being purified of sinful reactions. So, in the course of living that purified life, they have a higher chance of coming in touch with the devotee through their engaging of sacrifices and through their being very religious and being very pious. They have a higher chance of coming in touch with a sadhu who's a pure devotee. In that way, they can be more and more open to devotional service. That's the advantage of being very pious and religious.
Do you
Does
think
it?
that also goes for situations where people worship other traditions like Jesus Christ or Brahma or Shiva, etc.?
Yeah, because like the understanding of at least accepting a higher power is there. Instead of being atheistic, they have much more chance of coming closer to God. But when a devotee association, anyone can become close to God. Like Jagai and Madai were enjoyers, but still they could. And in our own personal lives, we see like people with atheistic tendencies and people who have not much faith in, not so religious, not so inclined. Still, after coming in touch with devotees, they gradually transform and become. So, devotee association is the crucial thing. Without that, at least people will remain religious if they are demigod worshippers. Yeah, Christian Pro, does it make sense, Olga?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, this is a question, and I don't know if it's completely relevant, but I'll quickly ask it, and then you can decide. So let us say I have a problem, I have a health issue, and I need to reach out to now. Now, sometimes the doubt that I get in my mind is, should I bother Krishna for everything?
Hmm.
Why not go to a demigod if the demigod can solve the problem?
Mhm.
Does that or maybe my village is not
No,
getting
it's perfect.
rains.
It's a perfect
It's-
question. So, how
Okay,
devotees actually fix that is by going to Nrsimhadev.
okay.
Still, you're not disturbing Krishna because he is busy in his Leela, Radha Madhav. So, once somebody was asked, Pankajangri Prabhu, Jananivas Prabhu asked, like, why do we have Nrsimhadev in Mayapur? Like, what's the need for him? Like, here Radha Madhav Ashtasaki are there, Panchatattva are there. So, we can just worship with them. He said, Radha Madhav Ashtasaki, they're busy in their Leela.
Yes.
They are
So
not like
for
okay, you are suffering. Yeah, it means it's not that they are don't care, but they are busy in their lila. The mood is different. So Nrsimhadev, the same Supreme Lord, the same Tattva, and he's very attentive and he's very present, and his role is to actually remove the obstacles in the path of devotion, be it like on any level, be it material, spiritual, everything. So he has that mood of protection. So it's very easy to approach him and then explain our problems and offer our worship to him in that mode. Even if it is like you consider it as mundane or material, it's okay. Nothing is mundane as long as our purpose of life is spiritual.
Thank you, Prabhu. Perfect. This is a great understanding now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madhavendra?
No, I just wanted to also thank you for clarifying that because I always saw in the Shringadev a little scary, right?
Mm.
And but this is a much nicer way of approaching.
They also say like I'm yet to know the exact what do you call reference. They also say like Giriraj is considered as the like that role in the Braj Leela. Govardhan, Giriraj Govardhan is considered as that particular role in the Braj Leela, that any desires that a devotee has, any prayers that a devotee has, can go and pray to Govardhan. Govardhan will fulfill those desires. Yeah, Chinmay Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, for the next session, I would request you to uh, spend some more time on these verses because this has so much nectarian stuff in it, and these verses like so compact that was when you like start unfolding it, it's like a relish in it every moment.
Yeah, we will continue to unpack in the coming week. Thank you. I do know such a like a conflict for me. If I start speaking everything, it's going to be too long. And at the same time, I also can't leave, so I'm trying to balance as much as possible. Sometimes I put the things on the slides, I may not speak them, and I may sometimes it's not in the slides and I may speak them. So just trying to maximize the things. Who else is raising the hands? Christian Pro?
So Prabhuji, one more clarifying question. So if our desire is for devotion and devotional service, then we approach Radharani, and again we don't approach Krishna directly. And just as for health issues, we go to health or material issues, we go to Nrsimhadev. Uh, other issues we go to Govardhan. And then do we go to Radharani for desiring for the love for Krishna?
Actually, to some extent, we don't need to really compartmentalize. Like this is their department, their department. You could go to Govardhan, you could go to Radharani, you could go to Nrsimhadev for everything. It's not that they cannot do and this and they cannot do that. Just somebody has a mood, like they just feel like, oh, I don't think I feel like asking Radharani for this. But I know many devotees who directly pray to Radharani. So it does not matter as long as we are having the central purpose of our life is to actually be a better devotee. There is nothing too material. Self-preservation is not considered against pure devotional service. At the same time, we cannot just masquerade any desire under the name of devotion and then take it and be bothered with them. So we need to be honest in that way. Is it really necessary for us, or we are just like kind of wrapped up in a particular desire? In any case, we could always safely bring it to Nashinadev or Radharani or Govardhan. It does not matter. But if there is a particular kind of hesitation, then okay, then go to Nashinadev, go to Govardhan.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So the analysis of these verses, like why is Krishna describing different types of worshippers? Because we saw that he is so great. That does not mean that everybody is on a same level to accept his greatness. Different people. Somebody is unmuted. So who's that? Okay. Who's okay? I will mute. So just because Krishna is great does not mean everybody is going to approach Krishna the same way, because levels of consciousness are different. So Krishna is exclusive, but he is not at the same time what you call rejecting everybody else. He is giving a opening where people can gradually come to him, though he prefers people worship him exclusively, but he does not shut down the other paths also. He does include them as worshippers, but he still prefers a direct worship of him. So that is why this whole explanation is there. And he's very clear. He's still giving a place for demigod worship, and he is also saying that it is wrong. So how do we understand? So when we are on the platform of pure devotional service, if that is our goal, then demigod worship is not necessary for us. If our goal in life is to perform pure devotional service to Krishna, if our goal of life is that we want to be servants of Krishna, on that level, in that mood, Krishna is actually what you call like cutting down the demigod worship. However, when people have certain tendencies, and that is the only way that they can actually approach Supreme, he does not have a problem. He says it is a bona fide way. He says ekatvena pritakwena bahuda vishvatomukam. He says these are three accepted ways of approaching him. However, he prefers bhakti, especially if we are looking to develop love of Krishna. Then he says no need of demigod worship. It's actually a distraction. You can actually push it aside. However, if somebody is like does not know anything about anything and worshipping some demigod, we don't need to go and attack them. That you are fools and rascals and so on and so. No. If tell them about Krishna, if they take up to Krishna, and if they can gradually transfer their worship towards exclusive worship of Krishna. But attacking is not necessary. Somebody is having some kind of shelter, so you don't need to attack their identity before giving them a actual identity. So make them a devotee of Krishna gradually. If they understand the practice of chanting Hare Krishna and everything, naturally everything else will go away. So when Krishna says in this chapter, it is because of the mood of exclusive devotion service. The person is already aspiring for this knowledge of most confidential knowledge and already practicing. In that sense, demigod worship becomes a complete not necessary aspect. So that is why he is like saying what he says. If you see the third chapter in Karma Yoga, Krishna will be recommending demigod worship because that level of understanding is Karma Yoga. But here it is exclusive devotion service, pure devotion service. In that level, demigod worship is not relevant. That is why he kind of shows it as something which is not necessary or wrong. The lessons that we could learn from this section is that our aim should be to take shelter of the internal energy. So we need to think, how can I take shelter of the internal energy? How can I overcome the influence of the three modes by taking shelter of the internal energy? Srila Prabhupada says by following the instructions of the spiritual master or following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, the easier ways. Because the Guru is a representative of Radharani also, the internal energy also. So the words of the Guru, the instructions of the Guru are actually spiritual energy. So when we keep ourselves there, that itself is a protection. And how do we respect Krishna? So we respect Krishna by respecting through our sadhana. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamiham. So Krishna is ready to reciprocate, but do we show our reciprocation to him? How do we show our reciprocation to Krishna? By respecting him, by giving some time to him, exclusive time. Imagine you have a loved one and they want to speak to you and you're always focused on your screen. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, I'm hearing. Just tell me. How many times kids do that, right? Your parents are calling and telling something and you're looking at your phone. They're like, I'm speaking to you. Look at me. You're like, the kid says, no, I'm hearing you. Just tell me. Don't bother where I'm looking. It's not very personal. It's like kind of shows like it's like kind of little bit feels insulting. So we do the same thing. We decide, okay, I'll chant every day, and then we think, okay, I'll do this first and then I'll chant. I'll do this, and it's almost sleeping time. We're like, okay, tomorrow I'll chant. So it just goes on. We take up, we want to do something for Krishna, and then that's the last thing that we want to do. We always give everything else in this world a priority, and then we think, oh, it's so much late, I want to sleep. If I chant now, I'll be late to bed. And then we open our phone and we are scrolling for 1 hour. We could have chanted for that 1 hour. We won't. We will just, really have to sleep. I cannot sleep late. And then you open your phone and then like you're like 20 minutes gone there. 3 rounds could have easily been chanted in those 20 minutes. But yeah, that's how. So we have to respect Krishna by respecting our sadhana. Because the quality of our life is going to be literally determined by the quality of our spiritual practice. It's not how much money you have. It's not how much influence you have. It's not how much big house you live in, which locality you live in, how big of a car you have. You have the latest model of Tesla. Of course, it looks like a trash can, but it's still, it does not matter what you have, all these things. It's not the only the measure of your quality of your life. If your spiritual practice is not going to be like strong, so then still you could be measurable with all of these best of the facilities that you could possess. So I'm not saying you should not have a bigger house, you should not have a better car than Tesla, but still, no, I don't hate Tesla. I'll be happy if you have Tesla. So I'm just saying, like, you can have all of these facilities. It's not a problem to have a proper quality of life, but that is not the end of quality of life. Have spiritual practice, because that will actually determine the quality of our lives. We will be literally be happy at heart. And for us to think for the rest of the week, in what ways do I take shelter of Krishna? What are the practical ways that I take shelter of Krishna? And how do I show respect for Krishna in my life? So these are two questions you can continue to meditate this week until we meet the next time. So, and we could share answers for that. And so thank you very much. And since I need to rush, so I'm not taking your reflections finally now. So you meditate on these two questions. It will help us in our own personal spiritual practice. And we will see you next week. And we will take your reflections on these two questions. That how you take shelter of Krishna. How did you try to take shelter of Krishna in the next week? And how did you show respect to Krishna in the coming week? So remember these two questions. I will also post them in the chat and we will take reflections next week. So continue to meditate. How are we going to take shelter of Krishna in the coming week? And how will you show respect to Krishna in the coming week? Okay. So thank you very much. See you all the next week. I'm extremely grateful and honored for your presence that you continue to give every week. So hope we can continue to complete this journey through Gita sooner than later. No, I'm just kidding. So thank you all. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you
Hare
very much.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
bye.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna, Chinmay, Hare Bol Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Shreyas,
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Krishna, Yogeshwari Mataji, so
Hare
nice to
Krishna, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Amrita Kishori, Danikeli, Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna, Chinmay Prabhu, see you. Hari Bol, Sundaranand Prabhu, thank you always for your presence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Sundaranand Amrita, see you.